Hi, today I'm going to do a quick video about how to do graphs in Excel, mainly looking at histograms and bar graphs and pie charts when we need to do those. So I have a data set here to look at. This one, if you're working on one for the class, this isn't the exact one that you have, but it's going to be similar, or at least, you know, the process is going to be similar. So when you open the file from Blackboard, what you might want to do first is save it to your computer or to your USB or whatever, and then open it back up, because sometimes if you work on it straight from Blackboard, for some reason, some of the things we talk about may not work. So we're just gonna, or I just wanted to give you that suggestion if you have any issues with any of this stuff coming up. But what we're going to see is in Excel, whenever you put in data, you want it to go down the column. So I've already got some data here. This is some mileage data looking at, I think this one was how far students traveled to school, I think is what we did for this one. So I've got all my data here. And so if I highlight the data, which you highlight by, clicking wherever you want, right? And then click on your left mouse button and just hold it and drag it down to get all that. And then we're going to go to Insert. And so a few ways you can find the chart you want. You can go here just to recommended charts and kind of look through here, see if you see anything that looks good. Like here you could see histogram. That's probably the one we want, right? Or you can look up here and choose one that way. It doesn't matter, but if you're not sure maybe which one of the charts is the one you want, you may do the recommended charts and just look at all the possibilities, right? So here's the chart that we have for mileage. Now this one, they only gave us 3 categories. Excel is going to automatically create categories in some way. So sometimes they'll look good and sometimes they won't. Sometimes you want to adjust them. So to adjust the different categories, you're going to left click on the numbers and then right click to open up the menu here. And we want to go to Format Axis. And so from Format Axis, we can do lots of different things. Let me move this. Okay, so what we can do is we can change the bin width. The bin is the actual bucket kind of that holds the categories. So this bin width is set to 15, so our categories are a width of 15. So if I wanted to change it to 5, I could do that, and now I see a difference in how the data is distributed. Maybe I say, well, that's too many, maybe I want it to go by 8. Okay, so there's that. That one looks pretty good, right? We can see how that's like a skewed distribution. Most people are traveling, 17 miles, 20 miles or less. Very few are traveling this much, right? I could also go here and just change the number of bins. Like say I know I want to have 5 or 10, whatever I want, right? I can change those there. Once you push enter, it's going to automatically change it over here for you, okay? And then you could, change some other things here. Most of this we're not going to want to change right now, so I'll X that off. And then probably what we would want to do next is we would like to have the title actually tell people what this graph is. So if I left click on chart title, now it's highlighted, and I can left click again, and now you can see the cursor is in there. So maybe I call this a histogram, and miles driven to school. All right, something like that, right? So that would tell somebody picking up this graph, they would be pretty sure of what the graph is telling them, right? But then you can also do things like add titles down here for the X and the Y axis. The easiest way to do that, I think, is to go up here on the menu and do the add chart element. And so here you can do your axis titles. So you could do one there and then you can do one here, right? And so again, just left click twice. This one I'm going to say mileage, and this one I could say frequency or number of students. All right, either of those would work for that. All right, so right now this looks pretty good. You know, it explains the graph pretty well, and you know, I can tell something about the distribution. I know what's going on here, right? I know what all the numbers are. But after that, you could do just some cosmetic things, like if you wanted to change the color, you can left click on the bars and then right click. And here you could change the fill right from there. Or you can go to the Format Data Series over here, and that's where you can change those different things. You can, you know, add a border, all that kind of stuff. So that's just kind of extra things, but that is something you can do. And really, the more you click around here, you know, if there's something you want to change, probably what you need to do is click on it, you know, and you're going to find a way to get that fixed. All right. Now, if I wanted to print this, if I want to print just the whole graph by itself, I can just click on the graph so you see it highlighted, and then go to File, Print, and then you see it there. You know, the only downside to this is that it is taking up a whole page. So if you're trying to conserve space, what you might do is just left click and then right click on the graph, and you could copy it, right? And then you could open just a Word document and paste it like as a picture. And so now you have this, right? And so then you can make it smaller or whatever. And if you have another graph you want to print, you know, you can put that here. And so then you could have multiple graphs on one page. So if you were turning this in for an assignment, or if you were printing it off for a presentation or something, then you would have all of it kind of condensed, and everybody wouldn't have to get, you know, just one paper with a huge graph on it. So that's usually what I do if I'm doing several graphs at once. I'll just copy them and then paste them over to Word or something. Okay, so that's that one. That's doing a histogram, right? The next thing we could do is, this is a yes-no example. So usually with the yes, no, or with any of the categorical variables, what you would want to do first is up here you need some sort of header. That just makes it easier when you're working on this. So here I might put, maybe I asked, let's see, do you have a full-time job? Okay, so maybe I was asking students this or something, right? So do you have a full-time job? And then these are all the yes, no's, all right? So again, I'm going to highlight all of this, including the header, and I'm going to go to Insert. And you would think that you would probably go, you know, and choose the bar chart or the pie chart, but really because of the way this is set up, because we don't have it in a frequency chart, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on the recommended charts. That's the fastest way to get to what you want. And it's going to have this right here, okay? And you want to choose it. So whatever it has there in the recommended charts, you want to say okay. And then what it does for you is it creates a frequency chart for you, basically frequency table. And it says, you know, 18 people said no, 32 people said yes. And so now we have this information, right? And from this, then you can start to adjust it as needed. Like if you want to change something about it, you can, you know, type on here and whatever, like here, you can put little labels, whatever. You can change colors. But one thing you might want to do is maybe you want a pie chart instead of a bar graph, okay? So once you've got this set up, then from there you can change the graph. So I'm going to click on this, and this comes up here, and go to Design, up here. And so you can see like these different designs they have, right? Look kind of fancy. Different things you could choose from, right? But if I decided, well, I want a pie graph or a pie chart instead of the bar graph, go up here to the change chart type. And now you can choose whatever one you were wanting. So if we were wanting a pie chart, we could click on that now. All right, and then from the pie chart, sometimes it's easiest just to choose something up here. Like if I choose this, you can see that it puts, if I choose this one, you can see it goes ahead and puts a legend here about what color is what. It goes ahead and puts the percentages there. But if you want to do that on your own, you would left click here and then right click. And you can do the add data labels, right? You can format your data labels so they can, you know, be a percentage. If you want, you can have the count. So the value is the actual number. If you just want the percentage, then you can click that. If you want the category name, you can put that. If I want this to say yes and no instead of N and Y, then I could go back and, you know, change that in the original thing, or I can type it in here just by double clicking on it, and I could type in no and yes. Up here again, I might not want it to say count of, so I just click on it and say this is, do you have a full-time job? And you know, somewhere you could put on there how many students you asked or whatever. If you wanted to, you know, we could say N equals 50, right? So we asked 50 people, right? And then of course you can change colors and do all that stuff. If you want to, you know, if you want to change fonts or anything, you can do that up here just like you would, you know, just a regular paper. You know, you just click on that once you have all that highlighted. All right. So here with the color, let's change it so I have a line actually around them, right? So now when I'm looking at this, if I want to take this one, right, and take it over, I just copy this and I go back to my Word document here and paste it, right? And so now I have this one, right? Okay, so that is how, you know, we would work on those different graphs. For histograms, you are mainly just highlighting the data, getting the graph, and then you're able to adjust the size of categories you want. Okay, for bar graphs and pie charts, if you don't already have it in Excel as a frequency chart, then you just highlight the data and go to the recommended chart, and it will create that frequency chart for you and then give you a bar graph, which you can change into a pie chart or do whatever you want with it. All right, so that's a quick tutorial on Excel and creating graphs. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.